How jury not convict him of murder? That's the question many asking tonight about the trial of software developer Michael Dunn, accused of murdering an unarmed 17-year-old over loud music. The only testimony supporting Dunn's self-defense claim was his own, and even that was contradicted by other witnesses. Dunn was convicted on 4 other counts, but the jury deadlocked on the charge related to killing Jordan Davis. And for Davis's parents, that's not an abstract legal issue. It's very personal. ABC's Byron Pitt sat down with them for our series, Crime and Punishment.
It has been an incredibly long 15 months for you two.
It was his father, Ron Davis, who got the call. His boy had been shot outside a suburban convenience store the day after Thanksgiving.
All I remember hearing the doctor say is, "Mr. Davis, I'm so sorry we were unable to revive."
And then he made that long walk a parent would rather die than ever take.
And I asked to see my son, and they said, "Wait a minute, Mr. Davis, we don't want you to see him like that." And so they pulled a sheet up to his neck like that. And when I saw him, he was laying there peacefully, had a little blood on his nose, and his eye was open just a little bit. And I walked over, and they told me not to touch him, you know, because it's a homicide investigation. And I said, "I'm going to touch my son," and I hugged him, and I squeezed him, and I smelled him. I remember smelling him. You know, it's funny how you smell your children.
Yeah.
You know, you want their scent in you, you know. And I smelled him for a long time, and I touched him, and I kissed him, and I saw his little eye open. I said, "I know you see me." I was talking. I said, "I know you see me." And I said, "You're going to heaven. You're going to find out about that belief that I told you about. You're going to find out. You're going to see God." And I kissed him again, and I just broke down.
Still warm.
Still warm, still warm, still Jordan.
Harder still, he told us, the call to Jordan's mother, LUCIA McBATH, who was in Chicago visiting relatives.
I just started screaming. And my family, you know, came running up the stairs. You know, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And then when Ron said that Jordan was dead, I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. All of those fears, it just came crashing down on me at one time because I never, ever imagined that he would be murdered.
Ron Davis and LUCIA McBATH buried their young son. But tonight a question still haunts them and stalks this country. Would Jordan Davis have been killed that night had he been white?
Jordan is the face of America just as any other child is. He just doesn't happen to be white America, but he's still the face of America.
This past weekend, Michael Dunn was convicted of 4 or 5 counts.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder.
On the primary charge of murder, the jury could not agree on whether Dunn was acting in self-defense.
I hear, "I should kill that here. I should kill that." Now he's screaming.
Okay.
There's no mistake of what he said. That is what he said.
Outside this convenience store on the way to the mall, Jordan and his friends stopped at this gas station, the music in their car blaring. 47-year-old software developer Michael Dunn pulled up alongside them and asked them to turn the volume down.
Body panels of the SUV were rattling. My rear view mirror was shaking. My eardrums were vibrating.
Okay.
I mean, this was ridiculously loud music.
Initially, the young men complied, but soon the music was turned up again, voices raised, an argument started. And then Dunn claimed 17-year-old Jordan Davis threatened his life. Shortly thereafter, 10 shots were fired. 3 would hit Jordan.
Oh my God, somebody's shooting. Somebody's shooting out their car.
The latest symbol for the old debate about race in America and the new equally bitter discussion over Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law and what defines self-defense.
At that point, what did you believe was about to happen to you?
I thought I was going to be killed.
Juror number 4, who spoke exclusively to ABC News, says that was a key moment in the trial. Dunn's insistence he believed he was in danger. That and this final directive from the defense attorney.
Check page 25. Start with page 25.
Page 25 reads, "The use of deadly force is justifiable if Michael Dunn reasonably believes that the force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm."
Their interpretation was he had a right to defend himself.
That's stand your ground. That stands your ground. It's all based upon your perception. A perception of fear rather than reality.
Juror number 4 insists the jury followed the law and was not persuaded by race.
For a lot of folk in America, they would say, white man shoots and kills a 17-year-old black boy. How could it not be about race on some level?
Sitting in that room, it was never presented that way. We looked at it as a bad situation where teenagers were together and words were spoken and lines were crossed. I mean, we really didn't look at it as a race.
I kind of find it hard to believe that it never was a thought in their minds.
Yeah, she said never spoken of.
Probably never spoken of. Somewhere in the back of their heads, it had to come into play because that's the reality of what this case has been about.
How do you explain it, that by America's standards, you all were doing it right? Professional people, God-fearing people, raised your son in faith, raised him to be an eloquent, thoughtful young man.
It doesn't matter because they don't want it to matter. They don't want to see this America. They don't want to see this family. They don't believe we exist.
So Jordan was foreign to Michael Dunn?
Yes.
Absolutely. He only saw the color of Jordan's skin. He couldn't in any way, shape, or form open his consciousness enough to see that Jordan's a human being.
Immediately after the verdict, Davis's parents were gracious beyond belief, expressing pity for their son's killer.
It's sad that he will live the rest of his life in that sense of torment.
But today, there is also righteous indignation.
For the first time, I think I'm hearing some edge, some anger.
When facts are in your face that the man said, I'm not going to let you talk to me that way, how can you say you're in fear of your life? You're the only one that had a weapon and fired a weapon. You're the aggressor.
I know this sounds really harsh, but I have likened what's happened with the laws as legal lynching.
Those are strong words. More than 6,000 African-American men were lynched in this country.
The stand your ground laws open up a can of worms for people based upon a perception to legally be gunned down.
Still, the parents who have remained united throughout the trial find themselves split on the issue of forgiveness.
I've already forgiven Michael Dunn.
I haven't. I'll be honest.
hasn't.
I have not and will not. Because you're not remorseful. It takes remorse for me to accept it. You know, you have to tell me, Mr. Davis, I had a moment, and I don't know why I did it, but I did it, and I'm sorry I took the life of your son. He didn't get a chance to get married and have other children. He has cut his mother off from having any grandchildren. You took all that away, and you're not remorseful for that?
Jordan Davis's parents intend to go back to court for the state's retrial of Michael Dunn on murder charges, determined that he answered for their son's death.
It's the principle of it.
We have to make him say that you killed Jordan and it was unlawful. Because otherwise, if you leave it, then you killed Jordan and it was okay that you killed Jordan.
And Ron Davis has another more surprising goal in mind.
I would like Michael Dunn to put me on his visitors list in prison. I'd like to go see him.
And what would you
sit
say?
across the table for, and I don't know yet. That's a good question, you know. But I want to look him eyeball to eyeball when all is said and done. But one thing that I know that we would talk about is I have to try to make you understand what you've taken away from our family.
The homicide detectives are going to tell you that's not protocol.
Michael Dunn's lawyer told us tonight that meeting will never happen. His client will likely live the rest of his life in prison. And for so many tonight, it feels as if America's long divide over race and justice will outlive us all. For Nightline, I'm Byron Pitts in New York.
Byron, thank you for that interview and report. What do you think? Did the system fail Jordan Davis? Tweet us at Nightline. Next, there are always too many cooks in